Hey everybody, welcome to Monsoon Live right here on YouTube. Of course, I'm your host, Jeffrey Monsoon Mysick, and today in studio, a local MMA fighter, Andre Petroski. Andre, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us. This guy, on this coming Friday, the 18th, will be fighting against Kevin Benedict. I'm going to be messing up his name, but you're going to kick his butt anyway, at the arena in Philadelphia. Andre, what got you into MMA?
Well, originally I was a wrestler. I wrestled my whole life. My father was a wrestler. My family was all wrestlers. So, you know, that story, I won't need to go into too many details, but I was successful in high school. I was lucky enough to get myself a full scholarship to the University of North Carolina, where I trained under Kerry Colott, many Olympians and successful wrestlers. And I stayed there for 2 years, had a lot of things going on back home, came home, finished my career in Pennsylvania, and went to nationals, and after nationals was over, I took about a week off and was just like, I need to do something. I need to find where the next chapter of my life is going to start. And wrestling was the first chapter, and I was on a path to finding what the second chapter was. And I walked into a jiu-jitsu school that offered jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai, and I basically fell in love right away. I did jiu-jitsu for a while, started getting good at it, and then kind of always had the idea and the vision of that I wanted to fight. Was obsessed with MMA since the very beginning, since I watched Jens Pulver and Uriah Faber go to battle in before they even had a 135-pound division in the UFC. I remember back to the Wanderlei Silva days, and I was enthralled since the beginning, and I always knew that I would eventually find my way to fighting, but I got a late start in MMA just because I was so I had such high goals in wrestling, and I was so dedicated. And to be successful in a sport of wrestling, that's all you have to do is wrestle. And so basically, to answer your question, I was doing jiu-jitsu, and I had a teammate that was fighting in a month, and he said, if you want to fight, contact the promoter. And I did so, and he said, great, here's your opponent in a month. And so I had never done any sparring. I had never had much MMA experience. I took that fight. I walked into the gym 302 Jiu-Jitsu down in Wilmington, and I said, hey, I have a fight in a month. Can you get me ready? And they were like, sure, we'll do the best we can. And that fight, I went out. I sold 107 tickets, more than anyone on the card. I sold... basically, the majority of the people at the Borgata were there to watch me, which I'm extremely grateful for. I have a lot of support behind me, and I choked him out in the first round. That fight was against Jesse Stokes, a purple belt in jiu-jitsu, and so for me to finish that fight by submission really gave me a lot of confidence and helped me know that this is where I belong, and I fell in love, and I haven't looked back.
Now, did you have any aspects of going, since you were raised in collegiate wrestling,
right?
Did you have any aspects of going to the Olympics instead of going into MMA? Did you have any...
Yeah, so that's a common question. If you look at the highest Olympic wrestlers, they're not making money. They're not making the money that the MMA fighters are able to make these days. And not only that, but I was a little burnt out from wrestling after, 5 years of college, 4 years of high school, of chasing these dreams, chasing these goals over and over. And it burns you out, Like, I sacrificed so much. Like, I was a good student, and I went to college, and I could have had an engineering degree. I could have chased a math degree, a finance, and instead I graduated with a communications degree. I had great grades, but I did that so I could train twice a day, all day long. And I sacrificed so much, and I was burnt out, and I was ready to do something different. And I really, when wrestling was over, I was ready to do something else.
Okay. Now, how does your collegiate and high school wrestling play in your MMA?
I mean, it's really, you don't need to ask me. I don't need to tell you that. Everyone will tell you that wrestling is the best foundation for fighting. As far as, the weight cutting, wrestlers know how to cut weight. They know how to train. They're the toughest there is. They're going to win the grapple, the clinch, the different positions. It's the best base for fighting that you can get, and it might take you 2-3 years to become a very good striker, whereas it is going to take you about 5 or 6, like almost double that, to become an elite wrestler. And so that's why you see so many of these wrestlers have so much success in MMA.
Now, what sacrifices have you made personally to get this? We get a lot of fans that ask this for the fighters that come on. What sacrifices have you made?
So I graduated college. I had a 3.0 with a communications degree. When I got out of college, I was interviewing with Northwestern Mutual, doing financial advising. I had a job lined up at Glen Mills as a counselor. I was pursuing a job as at FCI Schuylkill as a federal prison guard, correctional officer. I had opportunities that financially could have set me up much better than the path I chose. But when it comes down to it, I take pride in the fact that I'm doing what I love, and the people that really love me support me, and they understand. And even if they don't understand, they still support me. But I don't respect anyone that goes and gets behind a desk and works a 9-to-5 job if there's something out there that they love and they're not doing. And I just can't respect that, and that's not me, and so that's why I'm doing what I am today.
Okay. Now, how are you preparing for this upcoming fight? What stuff have you done to just get ready for it?
So my opponent is a debut. This is his first MMA fight. He wrestled in high school. I saw he's a blue belt in jiu-jitsu. He's a little bit longer, a little bit taller, so as far as preparing for him, not so much. There's not much tape to watch. There's not much to prepare for. There's not much preparation as far as him. It's really just improving off what I've done, the mistakes I've made in my prior fights, and making sure that I don't make those mistakes. Making sure I'm in shape, which with 2-minute rounds in amateur, if you're not in shape to go 6 minutes, you shouldn't be fighting. I mean, that's a short fight, and I want to make sure that I can put the highest pace on my opponent for 6 minutes possible. And to prepare for this fight, I've really just been, correcting the errors of my past fights and improving on the small things. And that's one thing that I understand in wrestling, because I teach a wrestling class, and it's so much in the details of when you shoot this high crotch, your head needs to be here, your feet needs to be there, and then they're just small things that you could barely notice. Well, I'm boxing and I'm making these small, very small, detailed mistakes, and now I'm just changing them, and I understand how important those details are from wrestling, so now I just need to make those corrections as far as my striking goes.
Now, what kind of fighter are you? I mean, we've had guys on here they're more stand-up,
right.
Others are ground. Where do you fit in that category of it?
There's no doubt in my mind, I'm more than confident that no matter who stands in front of me, I can take them down. There's no one. I spar and I train with some of the best pros in the business. Timmy Williams, Basil, Earl Small Trouble, the best guys there is. And I know where my takedown abilities are. Now, with that being said, I can take anyone down. But there's nothing that makes me happier than standing and throwing punches and punching people in the face. You know, I want to put on a show for these fans that come out to see me fight after fight, and I want to make things exciting. That's what I'm here to do. I'm here to walk out in that cage and punch you in the face as hard as I physically can. And you know, if I take you down, so be it. You know, you should consider yourself lucky. But yeah, that's my style.
Okay. Last question before we go into, we're going to do a little segment in a minute.
You're at 10 minutes now. You don't want your show to be too long, so what's this last question? I mean,
what advice, the usual what advice?
No, you don't need that question. You've asked that question of everybody and you get the same answer from everybody.
Yeah.
Join a good school.
Yeah.
Okay, so why don't you introduce the demo section and go into that?
What we're going to do next,
Why don't you count back from 5 after I stop talking?
You're the producer. Guys, I was wondering if you could show maybe the folks at home what they can sort of expect, like when you're facing a guy who has more boxing, more stand-up, what they can expect, like how you would handle that, and maybe give some fighters out there some tips on how you would get them to get to that tap out.
Some tips to get to the tap out.
Yeah. I mean, if we can show them.
You want to show them?
Yeah, we have.
Okay.
Show that to you next.
Okay, so my first fight against Jesse Stokes, I had a first round submission, and this is how I got here. We started in an over-under position, right? I have an underhook on this side and an overhook on this side. This is a common MMA position. It's basically 50-50. You know, I have the same position as him, and he has the same position as me, right? So I'm here, and I fake a quick little inside trip here. I'm basically just making him post, right? That's all. That's the only reaction I'm looking for. And then I come back for this knee pick on the other side. Now, as I drive this knee pick and take him to the ground, he looks for this underhook on this side, right? And as he, he gets the underhook on this side, right? As I take him down, I'm here. He gets his underhook and he starts to get up to his side, right? He works to his side. He starts to get up. No, facing me. Right? And this is the position we found ourselves in. Now from here, I look for my 3/4 Nelson right here. This is a common wrestling move. And once I can stuff his head enough, then I slip this arm through. Right? So as he starts to work himself up to his base, he starts to come up, I stuff his head, I thread this arm through. Right here. Now from here, I drop this hand or this arm, and I lock on my bicep here. Now from here, I'm going to walk this hand up, get my weight on top of him, and squeeze. And that was how I finished Jesse Stokes in the first 2 minutes of my first fight.
Dang. Well, folks, you've seen it. You want to give a shout out to anybody?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of people that have supported me. First off, gotta thank my mom. She's helped me a lot, but my sponsors especially, America's Pie. They have pizza shops in Westchester, Tinicum, and Rehoboth. Also, like to thank my sponsors on the back. We got my gym, World Class Martial Arts, Hall of Fame, Strength and Conditioning, and Walk with Confidence as well, clothing line. So those guys help me a lot. They keep me in the sport, and wouldn't be able to do it without them. So America's Pie with Matt Reed, George Reed, thanks a lot.
Well, folks, that's it for Monsoon Live. Andre, thank you very much for showing us.
Problem.
We'll keep you up tabs on his fight. It'll be on our Facebook site. But for now, have a great week, guys. Later days.